Tell your highness, the newspaper are ready for all my loyal reader. This paper being sold is stand over the country. Whenever I write an article about you, this is sells like crazy. Yeah, let's start from issue 0. Downtime, Review Edition. Thanks to the kindness of Prince Freyjadour, our newspaper The Downtimes will soon be ready for publication here at the castle. And now, with publication night, there is one thing we hope our esteemed reader will understand. Although the Downtime does support His Royal Highness cause, we are not an arm of the Loyalist army. Our purpose is strictly to report the news from an unbiased perspective. We'll be ever vigilant in pursuit to the truth. Teller, the Downtime reporter. It's number 1. Queen's Knight reduced Leckler to ashes. According to top secret source, the Downtimes have learned that during the recent battle for Leckler, the Godwin army set fire to the town in order to facilitate their own speedy evacuation. After pulling full throughout the western islet and igniting it, the Godwin troops waited for the French siege to let out, then evacuate. Although many Leckler residents still remained behind, the Godwin troops then ruthlessly destroyed the western bridge to make sure they couldn't be followed. Thanks to the rescue effort of the Prince Army and Orok, the leader of the western islet, casualties were kept to a minimum, but the populace is furious over the Godwin faction barbarous act. And the fact that the Godwin commander was a Queen Knight sworn to protect Falena is inciting even more anger. Leckler strike alliance with Prince. The representative of Leckler 3, Islet, Folga, Wassel, and Orok have recently promised full cooperation with the Prince army. Leckler Islet have long been known for their disparate politics view. Since the start of the war, hostility between these factions has only intensified. However, the cowardly action of Queen's Knight Zahak during the recent battle over the town have instilled a great anger and resolve in all the people of Leckler. All factions are now firmly in the camp of His Royal Highness. Tutorial. Portrait of the Enemy. Introduction. In the special series publication, The Downtimes, hope to use extensive investigation and comment to focus on the heinous cast of enemy characters who continue to threaten the Loyalist army and, indeed, the very way of Falena life. Many of our esteemed and loyal readers have been gravely injured and or had friend and family member murdered and kidnapped by this rogue gallery of scoundrel. Therefore, it's natural to wonder why anyone would want to learn more about them. However, in order to achieve victory, it is vital to know one's enemy as one knows himself. Therefore, the Downtimes firmly believe that this series, however controversial, can help contribute to the eventual victory of the Loyalist army. Next time, the traits of the enemy will take an in-depth look at the traitorous Queen's Knight Jahak, who cowardly set Leckler ablaze during the recent battle of that town. Issue number 2, front page. Prince living double life as bandit. Rumor have been circulating that the prince have been spotted in table performing what are described as bandit-like activities. This news has caused much consternation among the prince forces. However, there are conflicting reports that state the prince was in Leckler at the time, but an eyewitness from Sable who requests and immediately assure the culprit is indeed His Royal Highness. "I've seen him with my own 2 eyes," the witness said. "He was walking, all regal, ain't no doubt it was the prince. Perhaps not even an official denial by the prince will put an end to this suspicion." Yasuna Village hot springs dry up. The Downtimes have learned that Yasuna Village, a tourist resort famous for its hot spring, is experiencing a strange and sudden reduction in the amount of hot water coming from its subterranean source. The proprietors of the hot spring inns are at their wits' end. Adding to the street and heartbreak for the citizen of Yasuna is that no one can pinpoint the cause of this mysterious drop in water volume. None of us can figure out what's gone wrong. An inner proprietor cheerfully exclaimed, "If something doesn't happen soon, we'll be out of business." Serials. Retreat of the enemy. Zahab. As promised, In the first installment of Portraits of the Enemy, the downtime will share what we have learned about the traitor's Queen's Knight, Zahak. To begin with, we must mention that Zahak is of noble birth. He is actually a distant relative of the Godwin family. In fact, it was Lord Godwin who first discovered Zahak's talent for swordsmanship and recommended him for a position of a Queen's Knight. Zahak's real taste of battle was during the armor's invasion 8 years ago, where he proved himself among the strongest of the Queen's Knight. Zahak is known for his quiet, measured disposition, but he's actually more cold and unfeeling than calm and composed. Those who have worked closely with him reveal an almost megalomaniacal personality, one who would do absolutely anything to achieve his goal. The Traits of the Enemy has uncovered the reason Zahak turned his back on the royal family. According to Insider, Zahak is firmly convinced that Lord Godwin's iron-fisted methods are truly the best way to make Falena into a more powerful nation. Zahak's unwavering devotion to the strong-arm tactic of Lord Godwin is probably the reason he set Leckler ablaze. In Zahak's judgment, this tactic was the best way to put the Prince force in a disarray and secure the Godwin faction rapid evacuation, even if it put many innocent at risk. Former comrades of Zahak now say that they won't put anything past him in the future. I was surprised at the time, but now that I think about it, that's just the kind of cold, calculated maneuver he make in battle. Former Queen's Knight Kyle said, "I was a damn fool not to expect it." It's a number 3, front page. You're embarrassed behind Bandit Prince. The downtimes have learned that as expected, the Prince was indeed innocent of the bandit-like activities ascribed to him by Witness and Sable. The Prince force succeeded in capturing a band of bandits on Ranro Mountain outside Sable. The bandit ringleader has been pretending to be the Prince. It turned out that Uribear was the mastermind behind the scheme. It is worth he wished to sully the Prince's name. But the Prince forces were able to lure Iram to Sable and reveal his camp in public, clearing the Prince's name. Instead, it has been Baru's family whose name has been sullied. Repeat. Sable Corps joined Prince camp. With the Bandit Prince scandal resolved, the downtime has learned that Lord Rolbel of Sable has declared complete support for His Royal Highness. Lord Rolbel officially announced that the main force of the Sable Corps, led by General Din, would be placed under the Prince's command. On the condition that he joined the Loyalist army, Roy, the leader of the bandits, was pardoned of the crime of gross improvisation of a regal with the intent to profit and deceive. Roy himself has now personally sworn fealty to the Prince. He is currently residing in Sarah's Lake Castle. Trait of the Enemy, Urim Barrows. In this installment of Portrait of the Enemy, we examine one Urim Barrow, the man behind the Bandit Prince scheme. Due to his incompetence and other shortcomings, it was suddenly considered whether he was even worth including in the series. However, his plot could have severe ties between the Loyalist army and Sabdal, so we will take a closer look at him. As our readers doubtless know, Urim is Lord Barrow's second son, because his eldest son Hiram was assassinated during the battle over succession between Princess Falzram and Princess Saharewer. Urim is in line to eventually become head of the Barrow family. Urim is certainly not the ideal candidate to head up a senatorial faction lacking common sense, strength, and bravery. Furthermore, he is hugely unpopular among the citizenry. The Traits of the Enemy has reason to believe that this chicken-hearted man is not done scheming against the Prince. According to Lucerina, Urim's sister, the two of them were very close when they were children. But as he got older and began to help their father with his work, Urim became cold and distant. Around this time, he became deeply, indeed some might say obsessively, attached to Princess Limslea. Issue number 4, front page. Delegate sets fire to Beaver Lodge. Beaver Lodge was set ablaze last night in a bold and shocking pre-dawn attack. Fortunately, the Prince force rushed to the scene and performed search and rescue operation, keeping casualties to a minimum. However, most of Beaver Lodge residents were severely damaged in the attack. According to the Prince Force, Nethergate, the assassin group that also participated in the assault of the Sun Palace, was behind last night's arson. One of the attackers is alleged to have declared that the purpose of the assault was complete and total genocide against the Beaver and their community. Lord Godwin has often made public reference to Falena's historical, racial, and cultural identity being subverted by the continued existence of the inferior demi-human races. There is little doubt that his curliest beliefs are behind the surprise attack on the Beaver community. Red page. Beaver. Prince strike a chord. The morning of the Nethergate sudden assault on Beaver Lodge, Fualu, the Beaver Elder, expressed his deep appreciation to the Prince for rushing to help his community in his greatest hour of need. He formally announced the Beaver official intention to ally with His Highness and to oppose the Godwin. The Beaver community is known for its ability to stay out of conflict. During this war, the Beaver have done well to maintain their neutrality, but after discovering that the Godwin faction was plotting their extermination, they deemed it pointless to maintain this position any longer. Prince Freyjadour heartily accepted Fualu's offer of an alliance. Materials. Portrait of the enemy. Dolph. This time, portrait of the enemy examines Dolph, the enigmatic young man apparently behind the surprise attack on Beaver Lodge. Dolph is a member of the notorious assassination organization Nethergate, and we have reason to believe that he played some role in the assault on the Sun Palace as well. However, portraits of the enemy has been unable to uncover the slightest hint about his personal history prior to joining Nethergate. In fact, even his place of birth and parentage are shrouded in mystery. We do know, however, that he has been known to go by the alias of Michafute. This name is strikingly similar to that of Takefute, who was supreme commander of Nethergate at the time of its dismantling 80 years ago. But we can only speculate on the relationship, if there is any, between the two. Issue number 5, front page. Redwall falls into enemy hands. Around the same time Beaver Lodge was attacked, the Godwin army stormed into Rainwall and gained control with little resistance, but the townsfolk had little sympathy for Lord Barris, now knowing that he had secretly conspired with armies to defeat our beloved Falena. Some even said he deserved this defeat. Big pitch. Leon snapped at Bandit Prince. The Downtimes had learned that upon capture of the Bandit Prince, the Prince's bodyguard, Leon, known for her mild disposition, openly unleashed her fury on Roy, the one who had been impersonating His Highness. Leon apparently urged him in no uncertain terms to repent for his action. Rumor has it that this talk with Leon is what persuaded Roy to give up his bandit ways. Allegedly, Leon was sent over the edge after Roy persisted in addressing her as Sweetie and calling His Royal Highness a coward. The Towntown attempted to reach both parties for interview, but was rebuffed in both cases. "Please, don't ask me about that. I'm so embarrassed," Leon said. Rios was less cordial, simply nodding and walking away, muttering what sounds like crazy-ass reporter under his breath. Real. Retreat of the enemy. Salum Barrows. This time we examined the action of Salum Barrows, the unscrupulous head of the Barrows family. When Renwell collapsed, Lord Barrows was forced to surrender to the Godwins, his long-standing enemies. The public, however, tired of his constant selfish maneuvering, has shown no sympathy. After all, it was Lord Barrows who pushed for Princess Falzon to ascend to the throne despite her being only second in line to the title, igniting the Falzon-Srahurewar conflict. And it was Lord Barrows who pushed dam construction forward, which planted the seed for the Lord Lake Uprising. Lord Barrow even stole the Dawn Rune and allied with a new Armor's Kingdom. Lord Barrow's intentions were decent, as his goal was to maintain peace by preventing the rise of the hardline Godwin faction. But he is a man who would sell Falena out to accomplish that goal. A true blight on our nation. Issue number 6, front page. Godwin planning Limslaya's coronation. According to reliable sources, the Godwin faction is planning to push forward with Princess Limslaya's coronation ceremony as soon as the period of mourning for the late Queen Orsted has ended. After suffering a series of humiliating losses to His Royal Highness, the Downtimes believe that if the Godwins cannot defeat the prince militarily, they will outmaneuver him politically. Please, this isn't a word of commenting on, a spokesperson for the Loyalist army commented. While the prince's forces may be putting up a facade of nonchalance, there's a little doubt that, in private, schemes are being hacked to stop this coronation. An informal survey by the Downtimes revealed that the Godwins have little support among the common folks. The Godwin have already taken one queen from us, said a townsperson who requested anonymity. Do they really plan to further discredit the throne by installing their own puppet ruler? Back page. Godwin coronation, international affair. With Princess Limslaya's coronation ceremony approaching, sources say that the Godwin have sent out invitation to all the surrounding nation. The Godwin are no doubt planning to use the presence of international delegation at the ceremony to prop up their legitimacy of their suspect regime. Recipients include the Island Nation Federation, the New Armors Kingdom, the Scarlet Moon Empire, and the Dukedom of Gaian. In a shocking development, an invitation was even sent to Nagarea. We have not had formal diplomatic relations with their violent theocracy since their invasion of Falena a generation ago. While the invited countries surely have heard rumor about the legitimacy of the coronation, no one are in a position to make with by turning down such an invitation. Reliable sources say that all the invited nations are expected to show diplomatic courtesy. All will be sending delegations to the ceremony. Kill. Portrait of the enemy. Giselle Godwin. Soon as Princess Limslaya's coronation ceremony is held, Giselle is expected to assume the role of Commander of the Queen's Nine. His father, Lord Godwin, is a man who makes his presence felt, while Giselle lurks in the shadows. But insiders say that Giselle is the one who's really dangerous. We have reason to believe that he was the brains behind Childeric's victory at the Sacred Games. Lord Godwin is known for taking only necessary action. Giselle is the opposite. He loves to meticulously set traps and then watch his victims squirm in the palm of his hand. One can only imagine what sort of diabolical schemes will have in store of a commander of the Queen's Knight. As commander of the Queen's Knight. That's that. Issue number 7, front page. Coronation ceremony is held. The Godwin announced the Princess Limslaya's coronation ceremony was held at the Sun Palace yesterday. Celebrating the new queen's enthronement with grandeur, they also demanded the prince's allegation to Queen Limslaya and immediate cessation of rebellion, calling for unity throughout Falena. We will not negotiate with a corrupt and tyrannical occupying regime, a spokesperson for the prince said. We will continue to demand the immediate halt of Prince Limslaya's unlawful detention and an end to the illegal occupation of the Sun Palace. Next page. Meeting with Isle Nation delegate. More than 10 days before Limslaya's coronation ceremony, the prince traveled to Neva Island for a secret meeting with the Isle Nation Federation delegate, Admiral Scott Egan. The prince was able to negotiate an alliance with Admiral Egan, sure to be a strategic ally from now on. In the interest of full disclosure, the Downtimes have received word of this meeting beforehand. However, in the interest of protecting the safety of His Royal Highness and Admiral Egan, we decided to hold off on writing the story until the well-being of both parties could be ensured. Side note, the Downtimes in the real position. The Godwin faction has announced Princess Limslaya's enthronement, proudly proclaiming her the new Queen of Falena. However, the Downtimes entirely support the prince's opinion that this coronation was completely illegitimate, illegal, and invalid. While we maintain the utmost respect and reverence for Her Royal Highness the Princess, we do not recognize the puppet queen of an occupying regime. Therefore, the Downtimes will continue to revert to Freyjadour as His Royal Highness the Prince and Limslaya as Her Royal Highness the Princess. We hope you have the understanding and support of our esteemed reader on this matter. Please note that due to space limitation, the special series column will not appear in this edition. Issues number 8. Notice. Notice publication to be suspended. Due to circumstance beyond our control, publication of downtimes has been temporarily suspended. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause to our loyal readers. We will, however, return before long. We plan to resume publication in time to cover the next big military operation. Thank you for your passion, loyal reader. Issues 9. Front page. Prince proved military superiority. Pushing his forces into Dorat, a strategic position for the Godwind faction, the prince succeeded in capturing the city. In the middle of the battle, the people of Dorat threw open the castle gate, which contributed greatly to the Godwind army defeat. The news of the Queen's Knight setting fire to Lackler has spread throughout the Queendom, so wanting to avoid a similar fate, the people of Dorat were probably trying to evacuate as quickly as possible. With the capture of Dorat, His Royal Highness is now control of more than 2/3 of Falena. The lawyer's army holds an overwhelming advantage over the Godwind faction. Like page, Twilight Rune use. The siege of Dorat ended in a triumph for the prince, but the Downtime has learned that the Godwind faction, in its desperation for victory, brought the sacred Twilight Rune into battle. The Queen's Knight Elenia held the rune, but was unable to handle its power, nearly causing the rune to go berserk. The Prince Force have strongly condemned this action. Not being Falena royalty, it is blasphemous for the Godwind faction to bring the Twilight Rune, a sacred symbol of the royal house of Falena, into the battlefield. Serials, Portraits of the Enemy, Elenia. This time, Portraits of the Enemy takes a look at the traitorous Queen's Knight Elenia, who recently carried the Twilight Rune into battle during the siege of Dorat. Her father, also a Queen's Knight, trained her with a blade. When he fell in battle during the Armas invasion, Elenia said that he died because he was weak. Thus, he hates for anyone to imply that she is following in her father's footsteps or trying to avenge his death. Sometimes she made no secret of her strong affinity for the Godwind faction, or rather the Godwind family itself. This affinity is thought to be the reason for her betrayal, unlike Zahak and his unshakable conviction. Indeed, Elenia seems to often act based on emotion rather than logic. Special issue. Aethelbald family tree discovered. Prince Freyjadour recently acquired a chart of the Aethelbald family tree. Even though the Aethelbald fell into ruin 100 years ago, they are still considered one of the most prestigious family in all of Falena, as one can trace their lineage to the country's founding. The family's brilliant history is gloriously inscribed in the chart that His Highness obtained. The family tree is deemed priceless as both a museum piece and a historical artifact. However, a mysterious thief known only as Crow has been targeting the family trees of the aristocracy recently, so the prince has asked the detective Arboro to safeguard the precious Aethelbald chart. This Crow is nothing more than a third-rate thief, Arboro said, his lip forming a confident smile. I've caught him in the act before, and I'll do it again. Believe me, the prince has got nothing to worry about. With such an experienced detective on the case, it appears the prince can rest easy. Okay, this special issue is an event trigger to capture Raven. Issues 11. Front page. Princess Lims Leia to the front. Fresh from defeat at Dorat, the Godwind have released a shocking statement. Our new monarch, Queen Lims Leia, intend to go into battle to personally put down the rebel army. A Godwind spokesperson said, this plan is surely not Princess Lims Leia's own. Many feel the Godwind have forced her to the battlefield. However, the French tactician Lucretia remained characteristically unfazed at this development. We were expecting something like this, she said. We need only deal with whatever the enemy may bring.
We cannot allow the enemy action to foster our rank and cause panic and dissent. Speech. Mystery Man appeared at Big Hall. The Downtowns have learned that a peculiar-looking old man was recently seen at the Big Hall north of Renwall. A loyalist army guard on duty at the Big Hall said that the man had a dwarven companion with him and continuously stared at the western sky with a look of grave concern. The loyalist army guard called out to this enigmatic elder in an attempt to get his attention, but the man didn't respond and proceeded to enter the Big Hall. The soldier gave chase, but both the old man and the dwarf has mysteriously vanished. This sighting occurred on the same day at the siege of Dorad. The old man appeared to be looking in the direction of Dorad, but one wonders how he could have seen it from the Big Hall. But the loyalist army guard reported that the man didn't seem to be simply looking in that direction by chance. Serial. Portraits of the enemies. Queen's Army. This time, portraits of the enemy won't discuss a single person, but will instead investigate the newly formed force that the Goblin faction has christened the Queen's Campaign's Army. The battleground against the Queen's Campaign's Army will probably be on the plain northeast of Dorad. Thus, this will likely to be a battle of ground troops only. The strongest Goblin ground soldier are General Novum's troop, but they haven't budged from Renwall. This means that the main force of the Campaign's army must be in the Imperial Defense Force station in South Falena, and Queen's Knights such as Zahak and Elenia will most likely head them up. Normally, the commanders of the Queen's Knight takes command of a campaign army, but these are hardly normal circumstances at the Sun Palace. Thus, it remains mystery whether Gizel himself will show his face in battle. Issue 11. Front page.